Labas vakaras. Dobry wieczór. Good evening. Jūsų ekscelencija.
Your Excellency, extraordinary plenipotentiary ambassador to the Republic of Lithuania, Petra Bešta, Your Excellency, Lithuanian Republic Vice Minister of Culture, Vygantas Gasparavičius, dear friend Professor Andrzej Betley, the Crake of Wawel Royal Castle Director, and dear colleagues from Wawel Royal Castle, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, members of the Parliament, of the government, dear guests, dear colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen, also dear those who are watching us through social media. At first, I would like to congratulate us all on the occasion of the State Restoration Day, the 16th of February. At the beginning of this event, you heard the sculptor Johann Georg Pinsel, contemporary, famous Italian late Baroque composer, Tommaso Albinoni Concerto for 2 violins and Basso Continuo a Moll No. 2. Today, you heard and will hear this our museum orchestra Capella Temporale, who usually plays during Christmas, and the musicians from this group. Thank you, dear musicians. We will meet you again, as I've said. Even 2 days ago, we were hoping that in this opening ceremony we could meet and say thank you to our brother Ukrainians, the Boris Vozhnitsky Lviv National Art Gallery heads, Mr. Taras Wozniak, Igor Homin, Viktor Kushnirenko, and others. But not only COVID, but an even more frightening virus of aggression and lies from East keep on terrorizing the country we love, Ukraine. Therefore, the hosts of these exhibits could not arrive from Lviv to Vilnius today. But let me congratulate them on behalf of us all. There are so many of us, more than there were registrations. So everyone who gathered here to have a look at the masterpieces of Lviv, send online wishes for strength, courage, patience, and peace. In Ukrainian, I sincerely wish the courage, peace, and strength to our Ukrainian brothers and sisters. The freedom will always win. Long live the free Ukraine in the free Europe. On this symbolic day, very important to us Lithuanians, the State Restoration Day, the 16th of February, in the restored Grand Duke's Palace of Lithuania, we are opening an impressive international exhibition, The Mysticism of Baroque Sculpture, Johann Georg Pinsel, and other 18th century Lviv masters. This is one of our great projects for the upcoming Vilnius City 700 years anniversary. It is meaningful that the late Baroque architecture city Vilnius sees or is witnessing a late Baroque sculpture and of Lviv and surrounding cities. It encourages us to have a closer look to our common Central Europe cultural and artistic tradition, our historic connections of this region, which stretch from Vienna and Prague to Vilnius and from Munich to Krakow and Lviv. In the modern Western Ukrainian lands, or former Polish kingdom lands, and after the first partition of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, this land was owned by the Habsburg monarchy. So they had a very important in the stylistics of the Baroque sculpture, which had very dynamic shapes, as we will see in the exhibition, expressed body parts, dramatic expressions, expressed clothing folds, and these late Baroque or Rococo sculptures, their most famous representative was a very mysterious person, Johann Georg Pinsel, and the explorer of his works, Professor Jan Ostrovsky, calls not only the Lviv Sculpture School peak, but the last great European Baroque creator. The exhibitions by Pinsel were created in Louvre, in Vienna's Belvedere, and other great European museums. Now this artist is slowly becoming an integral part of the European art history. Therefore, history, artistic tradition, heritage show that Ukraine has been and still is an integral part of Europe. It's a pity that during the years of tragedy, especially during the Soviet occupation, quite a few examples of this heritage were destroyed. The sculptures that you are going to see were decorating the Roman Catholic sanctuaries or Greek Catholic sanctuaries. They were salvaged by the Lviv museologist and mostly by the Ukrainian hero, friend of Lithuania and a friend of Lithuanian National Art Gallery, Mr. Boris Vozhnitsky. He has been the director of Lviv National Art Gallery for many years, and this is the gallery where this exhibition comes from. We're very glad that this international exhibition is patronized by the Minister of Culture of the Republic of Lithuania, Mr. Simonas Kairys, and the Minister of Cultural and Informational Policies of Ukraine, Mr. Alexander Tkacheko. Unfortunately, the ministers could not be here with us physically, but I'm sure that with their thoughts are here among us today. The Ukrainian Minister, Alexander Tkachenko, on behalf of this minister, I would like to give the floor to the new Ukrainian Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to the Republic of Lithuania, His Excellency Petro Bešta. So, Petro Bešta, the floor is yours. Hello, I'm very glad for these great words. I would like to, first of all, congratulate everyone with the Lithuanian State Restoration Day and remind you that the Ukrainians have a new celebration. It was announced only yesterday by the President of Ukraine to stress the unity of our nation. I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Director for this great possibility or opportunity to participate in this exhibition called the Mysticism of Baroque Sculpture, Johann Georg Pinsel and other masters, and I'm very glad to visit this museum today. In the Grand Dukes of the Grand Duke's Palace of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. We just arrived to Vilnius recently, and we were very interested in this history and cultural foundation of Lithuania. As you may know, the opening of the exhibition is patronized by Ukrainian Cultural and Informational Policies Minister and the Lithuanian Minister of Culture, and that is why we draw so much attention to this exhibition. The Ukrainian and Lithuanian partnership is multifaceted. We speak about Europe, about our common safety, but actually, the essence of this partnership has many layers. We have mutual culture, history, and this event also shows it. I'm glad that this exhibition is at the eve of the 700th years anniversary of the Vilnius city. And I think that Vilnius, as a late Baroque city, will become a nice place for the celebration. We had a walk in the corridors of this palace, and we feel the depths of history, depths of wisdom. And I'm very glad that the crises come and go, but the culture and brotherly relationships of nations remain. This is an eternal wisdom, and I'm very glad that in Vilnius we have a possibility to have a look at this exhibition. And this is the dream of every embassy, to have an exhibition like this and to show this to our nations. I'm very glad, and please visit the exhibition. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Ambassador. The Minister of Ukraine, Alexander Tkachenko, sent a welcoming speech or opening address as well. So we will present this in the catalog of our exhibition. We will hope this will be published by the end of the exhibition. Unfortunately, we don't have it now. Well, and dear Ambassador, please send our greetings to the Mr. Alexander Tkachenko. And we're going to wait for the minister to arrive to Lithuania at the time of convenience. Also, please send our greetings to the former Ambassador Volodymyr Tsenkiski, who was a friend and a visitor of our museum. And you, dear Ambassador, you just arrived to Vilnius, so I wish you a successful work in Lithuania. You are always welcome in this palace, which belong not only to Lithuanians, but to Poles, Ukrainians, Belarusians, and other nations from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. This is their historic home. Another host of the exhibition, Mr. Simonas Kairys, the Minister of Culture, so Vice Minister Vygantas Gasparavičius will present a speech on his behalf. Thank you, Director. Have a great 16th of February, everyone. And before I'm going to talk about what the Minister wants, I'm going to speak in the Ukrainian language. And
dear guests, honorable guests, it is very symbolic that today Lithuania and Ukraine has a common day for celebration, and it's February 16th. We celebrating and commemorating the day of restoration of independence of Lithuania, and in Ukraine this is Unity Day of Ukrainian people. In some way, these two occasions has a very similar core and roots. It's all about independence, it's all about freedom, it's all about fight for freedom. And I believe it's all about victory of bravery and the victory of truth. So Lithuania stands together with Ukraine today, and we are very impressed of strength and will of Ukrainian people and Ukrainian nation. And I believe each Lithuanian today carrying not just Lithuanian flag, but as well Ukrainian flag in their hearts. So it's a big privilege for me to be here and to be witness of this very special occasion. And now let me deliver the greeting of Minister of Culture of the Republic of Lithuania, Simonas Kairys, and I will do it in Lithuanian language.
Dear guests, Ukrainian art exhibitions, even during this tense period, are quite an often guest in Lithuania. Not only often, but very welcome as well. Every time they become a valuable part of modern cultural dialogue, as well as a possibility to rethink the Lithuanian and Ukrainian cultural and historical connections. A subtle link connects the Lviv Baroque sculpture masters exhibition being opened in Vilnius, as well as Vilnius itself. The identity of the Lithuanian capital city is marked by the Baroque spirit. Many fragments of modern Vilnius, which inspire newer and newer generations, are the merit of the Baroque artists. Masters who came to Vilnius from various parts of Europe found a platform for their creativity and a possibility to turn the greatest ideas into reality, as well as a chance to become a part of the Vilnius Baroque school history. This is a very nice heritage, not only for the architecture of the Lithuanian capital city, but for our society as a whole. It shows that by being courageous to open ourselves, to accept, to think out of the box. This way we win many things, some of which eventually become an integral part of ourselves. Today in our cultural life, we mark another important event, namely the exhibition, The Mysticism of Baroque Sculpture, Johann Georg Pinsel and other 18th century Lviv masters. I'm sincerely grateful for every organizer for a possibility to familiarize ourselves with the incredible Pinsel and his contemporaries' works. Also for dedicating this exhibition to the upcoming Vilnius City 700 years anniversary. There could hardly be a more beautiful opening for the Baroque city anniversary than an exhibition of the late Baroque sculpture. So I hope that this new cultural dialogue sounds firm and will be heard to everybody. Simonas Kairys, the Minister of Culture of the Republic of Lithuania. Thank you. Thank you, Capella Temporary Orchestra and musicians. We are going to hear them again afterwards. And this music that you heard is not random as well. This time you heard the Czech late Baroque composer, organist, and violin player Jan or Johann Zako, trio sonata, 2 parts. And there are some ideas that maybe Pinsel himself was born or is related to Czechia. So as I've said, this is not random music. At first you heard Italian music. Professor Ostrovsky sees the connection between Gian Lorenzo Bernini, a famous sculptor from Italy, and Pinsel. And at the end you will hear Ukrainian late Baroque music. Dear Vice Minister, thank you for your opening address, and please send our wishes and greetings to the Minister. We hope he is going to visit this exhibition. So this international exhibition, where we are showing 20 impressive sculptures from the 18th century, is established because of close cooperation between the Palace of Great Dukes of Lithuania and Boris Vosnitsky Lviv National Art Gallery. Our cooperation has been going on for years and years, while the Palace of Grand Dukes Museum were under the hierarchy of the Lithuanian Art Gallery. I'm glad that the gallery general director, Taras Wozniak, senior foundations keeper Igor Skomin, sculptures keeper and explorer Boris Schengen, Viktor Kushnirenko, and many other employees, restorers of the gallery. Thank you for your friendliness and cooperation when creating this exhibition. As I've mentioned, the friends from the Lviv gallery could not arrive, for example, Mr. Taras Wozniak, but he has sent an opening address, and we're going to see this on screen. Dear ladies and gentlemen, this is great honor for us to see this significant exhibition. It is very important for us Ukrainians, but I think for the whole Europe as well. The master artist sculptor Johann Georg Pinsel's exhibition. We don't know how should we call him, because he's a great European actually. We don't know where he comes from. We don't know his real name. Was he Ivan Georg Pinsel, as we Ukrainians say, or was he Jan Jerzy Pinsel in Polish, or Johann Georg Pinsel, or maybe Jan Irje Pinsel in Czech? This shows us that this is not as important. What is important that he was at the peak of the European high Baroque, as high as Surbanaro, Caravaggio, or El Greco. Also, he worked at the border of Europe, of Eastern Europe and Western Europe, of Europe which has these 2 lungs that it breathes, the Eastern Europe and the Western Europe. This exhibition is very important also because this is a way of saying thanks to you, to a great Lithuanian nation, which during these harsh times for Ukraine still shares with us the most important things. You provide weapons from your arsenals or from Estonia, Latvia, Poland. This is very important to us, and we're not going to forget this ever, as we're not going to forget our unity that lasted between our nation during the days when our fathers fought the occupants in the 40s and 50s of the last century, and afterwards in the Stalin concentration camps. Also, we're not going to forget the tragic days next to your TV tower, which was actually a breaking point that changed the European world. Now, at the peak of the war, at the peak of the struggle for freedom, is Ukraine. So therefore, these links between us, also cultural links, are of the highest significance. They're also important because a large part of our common heritage of Lithuanians, Ukrainians, Poles, lies within the Ukrainian territory. Great castles built by great Lithuanian families, great palaces built by great Lithuanian houses are in the Ukrainian territory. And we want to share these fortunes with you. Also, I want to congratulate you on your main celebration, the Lithuanian State Restoration Date. On 16th of February 1918, Lithuania became independent. Long live Lithuania, long live Ukraine. Once again, thank you very much for dear colleague Taras Wozniak. We hope that in Ukrainian we will maintain peace and freedom, and our colleagues from Lviv National Art Gallery will visit this exhibition a bit later. Traditionally, international exhibitions last for 3 months, more or less, so until the 22nd of May. And it will be accompanied by many cultural, scientific, educational activities and events. I hope that you have received these schedules, so I hope that you will participate in these events of this program. And one of the accompanying guests of these events will be a famous Polish art historian, a former director of the Krakow-Wawel Royal Castle, and now the president of the Polish Royal Academy of Sciences, Mr. Jan Ostrowski, who will present the Johann Georg Pinsel and other 18th century Lviv sculptures works in more detail afterwards. The detailed text will be published in the catalog of the exhibition as well. And today I'm very glad to invite and give the floor to Mr. Professor Jan Ostrowski's student and successor, who is in charge of the Wawel Royal Castle, so he is the current castle director and friend of our museum, Professor Andrzej Betley, who knows the Lviv heritage very well. So, dear Andrzej, please, the floor is yours. Share your ideas on what we have here today.
Your Excellency, dear Minister, dear readers, well, перепрошую, я не буду говорити на українській мові. I'm not able to speak in Lithuanian, but I hope I will learn, like in Ukrainian. I was asked to say a few words about so-called Lviv Rococo sculpture. And I'm sorry, but this is impossible task. It is impossible because we can talk about this artistic phenomenon for an hours. But I'm not going to deliberate the problem of the Rococo and the connection with the Lviv, because this is an academic problem, and it seems that scientists will never agree with themselves about this problem. One fact is obvious and clear. Thanks to this exhibition, we are dealing with one of the most important artistic phenomena in European art of 18th century. Allow me to share a memory with you. In 1992, the National Museum in Poznań prepared a great exhibition entitled Between the East and the West, which presented the works of 18th century sculptures from the area of Silesia and the works of woodcarvers from Lviv. The exhibition was accompanied by a large international conference on 18th century sculpture. And what has happened? Outstanding researchers from Western European sculpture who came to Poznań from all over Europe, after entering the exhibition, they completely ignored Silesian sculpture and focused all their attention only on Lviv sculpture. For them, it was something like revelation. It was something special, outstanding. And as I said, Lviv sculpture is a something wonderful. This is a wonderful phenomenon that excludes simple categorizations. It is also a phenomenon whose genesis has not been precisely explained to this day. In 40s of 18th century, in the province of former Ruthenian voivodeship, but not in Lviv, in the very small city called Buchach, an extraordinary figure appears at the court of Mikołaj Potocki, and it was Johann Georg Pinsel. He has been artistically active for only a dozen or so years. He left his works not only in Buchach, but also in the churches on Horodenka, Monasterzyska, and of course, but only in the very end of his artistic career in Lviv. Together with the outstanding architect Bernard Meretin, he creates an informal artistic partnership. The fruit of this collaboration are masterpieces, such as a decoration of the parish church in Hodovytsia. And today, we have the opportunity to admire these works from this temple. And this work, it truly deserves to be called a masterpiece. The church main altar integrally combined sculpture, monumental painting, and architecture. In the way, the specific sculpture called Gesamtkunstwerk was created, but what is actually more correct, this is the perfect example of the idea of bel composto, which was mentioned in 17th century by Gian Lorenzo Bernini. The composition, here on the exhibition, we have an example of some kind of reconstruction, but the composition of this main altar can be considered as the best example of this type. The iconographic program was related to the presentation of the sacrifice of Christ on the cross and its Old Testament prefigurations, and it was also enriched with important element, light, which additionally built the illusion of the scenery. In the works of Pinsel, we can find all the features of a masterpiece, a specific arrangement of garments draped in crystalline folds with sharp edges. Our attention is drawn to the sculpture's incredibly expressive faces, which, on one hand, show the depth of experience, and on the other hand, testify to a perfect knowledge of anatomy. The freedom of naturalistic elaboration and physiognomic dissertations additionally enhance the artistic effect. The sculptures are exacting and full of passion. Unfortunately, apart from sculptures from the church in Hodovytsia and the monumental statues on the facade of the Greek Catholic Church of St. George in Lviv, only a single sculpture survived. The most interesting works were destroyed by communist authorities in the period after the Second World War. Until now, the scholars have not commented in definitive manner on the genesis of Pinsel's extraordinary work. The most validated hypothesis is that Pinsel most likely came from a broadly definite workshop of Czech sculptor Matthias Braun and should be included in the same artistic circle as Franz Rollbach or Ignaz Pacak. Of course, the history of Lviv Rococo sculpture does not end with the figure of Pinsel. His peer was Antoni Osiński, and we have the sculpture on this exhibition also of Antoni Osiński, who shaped the distinctive way of crystal work garments, which is visible mainly in the sculptures in the altars in the Bernardine Church in Leszajsk, now in Poland. The style modus was popularized by Maciej Polejowski. He was the creator, among others, the interior of the cathedral, Latin cathedral in Lviv, as well as the interior decorations in the church of Navariya, and we have examples of his works. And also he worked in the Franciscan church in Przemyśl or in the Dominican church in Lviv. Polejowski, with another sculptor, Franciszek Oleński and Jan Obrocki, formed so-called younger generation of Lviv Rococo sculptures. Thanks to them, this school is easily recognized in the huge territory of the former Polish Commonwealth, from Sandomierz on the west, surroundings of Białystok in the north, so this is the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and to Kamieniec-Podolski in the east. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Andrzej, for these great thoughts. Also, thank you very much for the Krakow-Wawel Royal Castle and its former director, Mr. Jan Ostrovsky, also the current director, Andrzej Betley, because this is our foreign main partner that entered us into the foreign arena and keeps on accompanying us, so thank you very much. And I'm not going to say what, but soon, a bit more than in a month, in 2 months actually, together with the Wawel Royal Castle, we are going to show you something else in these palaces, a sensation, but I'm not going to tell you what exactly. So let this remain a little secret. While preparing this international exhibition on the mysticism of the Baroque sculpture, without the above-mentioned Lviv National Boris Vozhnytsky Art Gallery specialists, a lot of effort was put by the Palace of the Grand Duke Museum. So the coordinator, Marius Zorka, restoration coordinator, Manvydas Milauskas, the editor, Laima Kunitskytė, designers, Laima Zolonė and Saulius Marteckas, technicians, Kęstutis Krala and Aurimas Ramelis, marketing and communication specialist, Monika Petrulienė and Mindaugas Puidokas. They are still going to work during this period of the exhibition. Also, Giedrius Karsauskas and many others helped us with the organizing of this exhibition. Thank you for Pranas Gudinas Restoration Center, led by the Professor Jūratė Sanvaitienė, so the restorers from the center. Also, my sincere gratitude goes to our main consultant, Professor Jan Ostrovsky, and another friend of our museum, who helped us with this exhibition, the Polish Academy of Science Art Institute employee Piotr Jacek-Jamski. And a special thanks goes to our another great friend and translator from Ukrainian, or active participant of our society, who is helping us today, so Mr. Vasily Kapkan. Sincere thank you to the partners of our exhibition. We had some diplomats participating, so Ukrainian embassy and ambassadors Petra Beshta and Volodymyr Yatsinkivsky, as well as Mr. Sergei Vasilenko and Mrs. Olena Kuzmenchuk. Also, the Embassy of the Republic of Lithuania to Ukraine helped us, His Excellency Ambassador Valdemar Sarpinas and Cultural Attaché Ina Kurienė, who should have been here among us, so thank you very much. Also, the specialists from the Lithuanian Ministry of Culture, so namely Daiva Parulskienė, Jurgis Gedrys, Viktorija Vitkauskaitė, and Sigitas Šležas. And probably the most effort into the preparation of this exhibition and its presentation to the visitors were put by the curator and one of the concept curators, an employee of our museum, the historian Gintarė Todorovska, and I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Todorovska right now. Your Excellency, Ambassador, dear guests, colleagues, this exhibition is more than a witness of beautiful intermuseum cooperation, and the works by the Lviv sculptures are something more than material artifacts. It's a symbol of our close connection with the Ukrainian heritage and our position and the position of our future relationship. We keep to protect, explore, and make this unique sculpture phenomenon famous together. While thinking about the concept and structure of this exhibition, we acted in a Pinselin way. Johann Georg Pinsel, while trying to create dramatic, expressive compositions, disregarded the sculpture forming rules and often the human body anatomy. And we disregarded the traditional chronological or thematic exposition formation principle. we present storyline by growing tension that leads towards the culmination. So at the first part of the exhibition, we will invite you to find out about 3 unknown 18th century sculpture works, the sculptures of Saint Matthew and Saint Luke, and Saint Brace of Milan, who decorated the Ivano-Frankivsk church. In the second part, we present another unknown sculpture from the 18th centuries, the sculptures of the church fathers, Saint Augustine, Saint Jerome of Struden, Saint Gregory the Great, and others, for Susidovychi church altars. On the second floor of the exhibition, in the third room, you will see a short movie where the Boris Vozhnitsky Lviv National Art Gallery head Taras Wozniak discusses the Pinsel biography and its nationalization issues, as well as the current life cycle of the sculptures. Also, you will find the presentation of Pinsel and other masters' sculptures models. You are free to touch them and explore them. And for the blind and partially sighted, we have detailed description of the models in Braille. In the fourth room, you will familiarize yourselves with the most famous contemporaries of Pinsel's, with their sculptures. Here we present Antoni Osiński, sculptures of Saint Dominic Thomas and an unknown bishop for Navariya and Susidovychi's church altars. Also, allegoric figures of prisoners by Franciszek Oleński. And finally, we introduce the Pinsel student and follower, Lviv sculptor Jan Obrocki, and his sculptures of Moses and Saint John that decorated the Busk church interior. And the final, fifth part is dedicated to the Grand Master himself, Mr. Johann Georg Pinsel. We present some of the most impressive sculptures created around 1751 of the Saint Mary and Saint John, and the dramatic destruction of sculptures during the Soviet times. But one of the sculptures of Saint Joachim was salvaged, which was part of the Horodenka church high altar, and Mariyampil Capuchin monastery church. Finally, we present 2 churches which are considered as being made by Pinsel himself or someone from his surroundings, so that of Saint Florian, and a crucifix for Lopatyn church high altar, which miraculously was not destroyed. And the accompanying scientific, cultural, and educational program will invite you to many events. During the concert Magic Baroque from Dresden to Vilnius, you will hear Pinsel's contemporaries concerts, works, also Dr. Auksė Kalažinskaitė-Jocienė, Dr. Viktorija Vaitkevičiūtė-Verbickienė, Professor Alexander Alexandrovičiūtė, Professor Jan Ostrovsky, and Jerzy Petras will present scientific studies in various sections of Lviv, Vilnius, or the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and the late Baroque of these countries and cities. Also, we invite you to excursions and educational activities, and in May, as the exhibition closes, we hope to invite you to the catalog presentation event. And finally, I want to say thank you to our dear director of the Palace of the Grand Duke's Museum, Mr. Vidas Dolinskas. He was a great center for curators and coordinators, and I won't be mistaken by saying that because of his sincere efforts, we can see the sculptures here in Vilnius. So thank you very much.
Ačiū Gintarė, ne viską, ką jis sakė, yra tiesa.
Thank you, Gintarė. Not everything that you said is true, but still, I'm glad to hear that. And I want to wish her successful work when preparing the catalog. There's still a lot to be done, but the catalog will be very nice because the sculptures and the material that has been collected by Andrzej Bentley and his professor Jan Ostrovsky and all the colleagues from Krakow and from Ukraine, from Lviv. So the material is great. and we hope to put this all into a nice and detailed catalog. And as I mentioned, the marketing and communication experts and all the programs curators, so Dr. Ramunė Šmigaskytė-Stukienė, Vytautas Gailevičius, Grėtė Ginaitytė, Beatrice Baltrušaitytė will have a lot of work to do, and we wish them a lot of success. I want to draw your attention, as Gintarė mentioned, that there are some novelties in this exhibition. A small exposition for blind and partially sighted. You can read about the exhibits in Braille. You will see some videos. Also, the exposition is dimmed, therefore we have new lighted labels, and in the rooms you will hear the music by Johann Georg Pinsel's contemporaries. I'm not sure that we will be able to hear the music right now because there are so many of us, so you will have to come back afterwards. And traditionally, at the end of our event, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our supporters, without whom it would be very difficult to host this exhibition. So first of all, the company BTA, Vienna Insurance Group, and its head Tadeusz Podworski, who has been our partner for many years. By the way, BTA Insurance was the first one that started supporting culture with its insurance services, and there are many more insurance companies that are doing this right now. Also, thank you to our international supporters. As you can see, before the opening of this exhibition, we had a lot of communication. So thank you to national broadcaster LRT and its general director Monika Garbačiauskaitė-Budrienė, daily newspaper Lietuvos Rytas and its editor-in-chief Gedvydas Vainauskas, website lrytas.lt and its head Tautvydas Mikalajūnas, advertising company JC Deco and its head Žaneta Fomova, the journal or the magazine Legendos and its shareholder Tomas Balžekas. So a sincere thank you to all of you. We are going to need your support all the time, not only for this particular exhibition. For the Lithuanian cultural experts, this did not seem like a significant exhibition, but this tells more not about the exhibition, but about the competencies of the Cultural Council, because they did not support this exhibition. If you fail to hear me, they did not support us financially. And at the end of this evening, before we dive deeper into the Baroque sculpture Mysticism, I would like to invite Capella Temporale once again, and it is going to perform Johann Georg Pinsel's contemporary, this time Ukrainian late Baroque composer and singer Maxim Berezovsky Sonata for Violin and Basso Continuo C-dur. There will be 3 parts, so please do not clap between the parts.